it could be noticed that he has respect for people and he wants everyone to be equal.
Yeah, that's a very positive view.
I think a conqueror could be could show human rights because when he conquered, he gave freedom to the slaves that were there, and he let them choose their own police.
That's right. He did. But why would a conqueror do that? That's taking a big risk, right? Because if you give people too many rights, then there can be rebellion, which is what all these conquerors were afraid of. But if you don't give them any, then you're like Alexander and Genghis Khan. So why do you think?
I think that people should give human rights because so they can feel freedom and safe under other people for protection.
Right. Again, but you're all pointing out more of a result than the reason. Yeah.
I think that Cyrus the Great was so successful with the places that he conquered. He conquered the people, but he let them go free, but he let them adapt to his environment.
Well, that's not exactly correct, because he actually allowed all the people to keep their cultures and maintain their mind and their religion. And so I'm going to just let you know that the reason he's considered a pioneer of human rights is because he allowed secular law for the first time in history. So before that, let me just show you a quick diagram. See?
They probably don't know secular.
Oh, secular, meaning non-religious. So when you have, let me just show you. Today, we're programmed to think of the world as East and West, right? Mm-hmm. So you have the Eastern world, and then you have the Western world, and this is a very artificial cultural division. So right now we have West and East. And this only began with Herodotus. He's the first, the father of history. He divided the world between West and East. But before Herodotus, and we're talking about before Herodotus, Cyrus was before Herodotus, the world was naturally divided between North and South. So here you have the Black Sea and Caspian Sea, and north of this was a culture that was naturally divided because of the Ice Age. So all these people here were trapped, and their culture formed in isolation. And the world had been ruled for thousands of years down here by the southern world. So you had Egypt over here, you had Mesopotamia, you had the Elamites, even before that, you had the Ethiopians down here. They ruled the world for thousands of years, and these guys were the backward country hicks who had been completely deprived of these very advanced cultures. So up here you had 4 tribes. You had the Indo-Europeans down here. Up here you had the Uralic people, who are today the Finns and the Samis. They're the reindeer herders. I don't know if you've ever seen that before. But and these are the tribes that no one knows about. everyone knows about these. You know, you go to Egypt and you see the pyramids, and you go here to, which is today Iraq, and you have Babylon and all these. But these tribes no one knows about. And over here, this division is the Urals, the Ural Mountains and the Ural River. And then over here you have the Native Americans who came over the Bering Straits into the Americas. And then down here you have what are called the Altaic people. Altaic people. And the Indo-Europeans. Cyrus was from this. And what makes him very important to history is he's the first person from the northern world to take over the world. First time. And his culture, which formed in isolation, was suddenly became the law of the land. And up here, the laws, the rule was non-religious. And down here, it had always been based on religion. So you had the Hebrews, who, Yahweh, who's the God of the Hebrews. He's most of you all's gods. God. Oh, my pagan is coming. And then you had Mesopotamia. So Babylon is named after the god Bel. And then you have Assyria, which is also part of it, named after the god Ashur. So these were all cultures that were heavily based on religion. And what happens when a rule is based on religion? There's no room for other religions. And so this guy, Cyrus, when he comes, he sees that, okay, all these different religions have no right to practice, and they're slaves. So it was just so strange to him. So he wasn't a human rights guy. He was just an Indo-European who came down here and said, this isn't right. So he said, secular law, new word, non-religious law, seems to work for us. Why wouldn't it work down here? And that is what is significant about science, in a nutshell.
Yeah, we hadn't talked much about, we were just doing this in my first week teaching, so next year I'll look more into that side of the North versus South, and that's fascinating. But we've just been, the classic book, they have questions about the textbook actually, because there's no Persian chapter.
Right?
There's a section in the Greece chapter, so they wanted to ask you questions about that, like perspectives in history and why we hear some stories and not others. But it's just very interesting that West versus East, that's how the book is.
Right. That is why you don't get this, because it's all political. Because the West begins with Greece, which is in the West. And so the East is kind of swept under the carpet. Yes, sir.
Okay, well, do you actually go around the world?
I do.
How are you able to, how are you able to travel? Like do you go on a jet, or do you have like a little group, or you said you have a company? So,
Yeah, I travel usually with my cameraman and a guide and a driver. So there's usually a crew of 4. We don't like to take too many people, because then whoever we're talking to kind of comes out of their element, because they suddenly on TV. So if we're just a small crew, we're able to capture the people in their natural state. Yeah. No, I haven't, because this is a tall order. This area here has been, during the Soviet Union, it hasn't been available to go and archaeologists were only allowed to start excavating here in the early 90s. And so the first book that just came out about this northern culture came out in 2007 by David Anthony, and I just interviewed him in New York last year. And so that's why it's taken so long to do this. Okay.
What made you have interest in Cyrus the Great?
Well, I am Persian. So, and he was the first king of Persia and the Persian Empire. He's like the George Washington of the Persian Empire. He's the one that who made the Persian Empire. Before Cyrus, Persia was just a little tribe of nomads. Yeah.
Why did you choose Cyrus the Great and not anybody else?
Well, because I think he's one of the most untold stories in history. You know, he's mentioned in the Bible 24 times. He's the only non-Jewish person in the Bible who's called a Messiah. So this seismic shift from the northern world to the southern, from the southern world to the northern world was registered in the Old Testament. That's how huge of a shift from south to north it was.
Me and my group have been doing questions to ask you. I'll save the first one. What connections does Cyrus the Great have with human rights? Yeah.
You could, if just think about the question first, if you already talked about it, and then you can.
Why do you think Cyrus the Great did to rule such an?
Okay, you get your question. I'm going to go to him, and then we'll come back to you.
Is there still a fact that you haven't discovered about Cyrus the Great?
Sorry?
Is there still things you don't know about Cyrus the Great?
Oh, yeah. Because, you know, here's the thing. When Persia was invaded by Islamic forces, the entire culture was wiped out. The libraries were completely leveled, and all the books burned, and so nothing was left. So all our history from Cyrus comes from archaeology, the Old Testament, and Greek sources like Herodotus, who's no friend of Persia, because, you know, Greece and Persia were always kind of at loggerheads. Yeah.
You said that you travel the world.